So now I'm recording, and I'll just clap and let's get started.
Cool.
Hey guys,
Hey,
how are you all doing?
good.
Hey, good. Um, uh,
we don't know how to start a podcast, do we? That's the fundamental problem.
Yeah. How do you actually start a podcast? That is a hard question.
I guess like this.
Yeah,
We've done
yeah.
I mean, this is our first try at it. I'm sure it's going to be awkward,
Yeah.
but we'll find our groove.
for sure.
I maybe we'll just like give like a small little like personal update, and then we'll like launch into this list that we've prepared.
That sounds good.
Cool.
That makes sense. I just finished 5 hours of live streaming, writing an essay, so I'm like very tired of talking on a microphone, but at least it's talking to myself, which is different from talking to people, so that's good.
Wow.
What were you writing about? Is it the book?
It's very meta. Yeah, it was the book, but then it was like writing about writing, like writing about why writing is actually an important part of an engineer's career, and it's not something that people really think about when you think about, hey, how do I like what do I need to succeed as an engineer? It's you think about writing code, but actually writing words is also pretty important.
Yeah. Especially if you're a technical writer, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I think as a developer as well, it's probably really useful documentation, things like that. I'll be interested to watch that actually, because I think that writing it's a rare skill. Not a lot of engineers actually have it. Everyone hates writing docs, right? So
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the little bit of the pitch was like, it's not just for if your job title is technical writer. Like, if you're just an engineer, like the more senior you get, actually, the more writing you do, because like you have to do design docs, you have to do like peer reviews and PRs, and like feedback, for other people, and communicate with external stakeholders as well. And then you also like have to just pitch your projects and do retrospectives of like when things go wrong. Like it's all writing.
Yeah, it's very true.
It's hard to write, for me at least. It's
What about you, Kev?
I've been working on this Svelte Forms package for a bit. These last few days. Yeah, it's amazing. Not really, not yet. So
Nice.
the idea is basically just to like make forms an easy thing to do in Svelte. I mean, they're already easy, right? But just like grabbing values and things like that, validation, errors. Kind of a formic for Svelte, kind of.
I think we'll link your talk. I found it here. Svelte School / Svelte Forms.
Yes.
So I'll put that in the show notes.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and I guess that's another thing, the Svelte School thing. My intention is to actually make video courses at some point. That's I don't know.
And are you going to put that inside Svelte School?
Yeah. That's the idea. Yeah.
Okay.
And have like
I think that is Svelte School.
yeah.
Yeah, sure. I guess it's a matter of whether Svelte School is like a thing, and then you use other sites to give you the technology behind that, or whether you do it all yourself.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking of doing it all myself, but I mean that can just take so long.
Yeah, I mean we've kind of got a segue here into talking about Scrimba, right?
Yeah.
Should we chat about Scrimba and what that looks like? Because we were discussing it briefly earlier anyway.
Yeah. Let's do that. Right.
So I think probably someone who's used it, I think is you, Kev, right? You've looked at it and
yeah. So Scrimba is pretty much a video course site. I think it's done in a JavaScript framework called Imba. So I guess it's
yes.
some kind of play of words there. But it's a pretty short course, I think, the Svelte course that they released. Just like an hour or so, I think, or a couple of hours at most. But I think people should check it out for sure. It's a good like introduction to Svelte. It's not like most of the stuff. It's most of the video stuff on Svelte. It's pretty basic. There's not a much.
And just the site itself, you were mentioning before that it has kind of like CodePen and video together.
Yeah.
So that's quite a nice idea. It's a bit like the Svelte tutorial in that you're interactively using docs, which is pretty cool.
That's a good like.
I'm actually.
Oh, cool.
So I'm actually playing it right now. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
See, so these are all like, so we're, this isn't podcast, but it's difficult. But these are all interactive elements. So this is an actual IDE, but he's got his mouse animating, and then he can highlight, he can talk. I've got it silenced right now.
So yeah.
But see, that's the video.
Yeah.
And so this is like a video, but these are all live, so you can actually while he's talking, you can just go look around.
That's really cool.
It is crazy. It is crazy.
This is almost like, this is why I wouldn't previously have liked video courses, is because I found it very hard to focus on a video and try and code at the same time, and I'm always clicking pause. But if this is kind of built in, I'm guessing that it's a much more smooth process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Anyway, so people should check that out.
Nice.
Put that in the links.
For sure.
And you mentioned it's written in Imber, which is interesting, because I know that Imber was the only framework that was at one point giving Svelte a run for its money in terms of raw performance.
Oh.
So it's interesting that they also kind of, just as a side gig, nailed that.
Yeah.
Whether it still does or doesn't compete, I don't know. I think it's a very, very different kind of offering than Svelte itself. But I know for a point it was actually outstripping Svelte in terms of speed, which is saying something.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I know I looked at like the syntax and stuff, and it's a bit more like it's not as HTML-y as Svelte, if that makes sense.
Which is good. I mean,
yeah,
I like the HTML of Svelte, but it's definitely not the be all and end all,
Yeah.
Cool. Very nice.
Cool, Anthony. What's your quick update?
Quick update. Let's see. I mean, I was hardcore working on Beyond for like 2 years or something. Now, because of this COVID thing, I've been furloughed, so it's given me a bit more time to look around open source offerings. I'm doing a lot of work on, as part of what I did at Beyond, I produced a bunch of libraries for our use, and it's given me time to sort of go through those and kind of polish them a bit, but also podcasting and doing online meetups and stuff, a bit more community stuff. I thought I'd have loads of free time, but it's not really happened. There's always something there to use it all. So hey, what do you do?
I feel kind of the same as well. I also thought I would have like loads of time, but I feel like the opposite.
Yeah,
it's strange.
I mean, I still have staff, so I have to mentor them, I suppose, but it's weird because there's rules around what you can and can't do, so it's a bit kind of awkward to know what you're supposed to do. But
yeah. What do you mean you have staff? Like when you're furloughed?
So furloughed, I'm still employed there, but I can't work on the actual product. I can't work on the site. So what I have to do is my other two developers, mentor them, help them, because they're obviously still working, but they're more junior. So I can do that kind of as directorial duty, is kind of, advise them and stuff, just not in any kind of official capacity. And then the open source stuff is fine because it's community, it's an open source offering. So I can use the opportunity to polish those libraries up that, were kind of rushed out. So yeah, it's just about what you can and can't do, really.
Cool.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right.
Shall we get right into the scheduled topics?
Yes.
Good idea. All right. So first off,
so how does everyone feel about Svelte Society Day?
It was good.
So I think it was awesome. Yeah, there's a few technical hitches, but I thought it was really great. it was the first online talk I've ever done or really seen, so I was impressed.
Same for me. I guess.
Yeah, like I never did online conferences before, and then then I did 3 in a row. It was just
you're a veteran now.
I mean, like, once you get into this, you realize there's some things that you can't do in person, so you try to take advantage of that. So, like for me, I was giving a talk, but then, so you pre-record the talk, and then while the talk is being given, you can actually see questions come out live and answer them live.
Yeah.
And I think people really enjoy that because, during a talk, you normally can't, stop and answer questions, right? And it really gives people that extra engagement, actually even more engaging than a regular talk. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I was also like I was trying to give like director's commentary, like, this is like behind the scenes, this is what I was doing and all that, and making fun of myself, and it's pretty fun. Yeah.
It is quite engaging to actually be able to answer questions at the same time and like see what people are saying while the video is playing. It's pretty cool. I liked it. Like I like the technical issues were a bit irritating. Like the fact that I couldn't scrub the videos, a very weird like feature missing from the software. I was
just impressed with how well you handled it, because I think that level of stress would have probably got to me quite a lot.
I mean, I was probably more stressed than I looked the first time, but then once you saw like how people reacted, it's fine, right? People are understanding, and
yeah,
and it's it's a free event. Like no one's gonna demand stuff.
Well, I think for whenever we put this on again in the future, we might want to use like YouTube Premiere, so that it's already uploaded to YouTube, so there's no chance of downtime from your end.
That's a good idea.
And it's immediately live. It's immediately live with a link that people stop asking like, will this be recorded? Like, of course it's on YouTube. It's gonna be recorded.
Yeah, that's good. Nice. Actually, one thing that I found interesting about that was how much harder it is to give a pre-recorded talk than it is to give a live talk. Because when you're doing a live talk, you're just kind of talking and stuff, and you kind of judge the audience's reaction. Whereas when you're pre-recording, there's no audience to stop you in your tracks and say, "What are you doing? Where are you going with this?" Kind of thing. Yeah. And I think the other thing is, because you've got that, you put a lot more pressure on yourself for it to be good. So I definitely spent a good 7 hours recording clips of that, like over and over and over again.
Wow.
And then at the end, I was just so done. I had a beer and I was just like, right, I'm just going to talk. And
didn't you lose your video at some point?
Did I lose my video?
Was that someone else?
No, I recorded it. I recorded the whole thing in segments, but the whole thing once without any sound. And I recorded various segments in about, I don't know, 200 pixels by 200 pixels, some ridiculously low resolution.
No.
I did a lot, but it was fine, because the more I did it, the better you get, and the kind of more refined, and the quicker you get to the point of what you want to say, which is when you're live, you don't. Sometimes you just ramble,
Yeah. I actually just went. I just did one take, actually.
That's impressive.
I went through it once.
Is it that good?
I don't know, man. It's it was a bit like shaky. A lot of ums and
wow.
It was.
I think it is a skill to replace, like, you want to have a regex where you like do like s for just pause.
Yeah.
Just substitute all ums for pause, and you just sound much smarter and much more intelligent.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm kind of looking through, so people can find that on our YouTube channel. I also have a gist, which I'm going to include in the links as well. And then I'm just kind of looking through like the feedback that we got. People liked the creative coding stuff. The Sapper stuff was really good. Hey, that's Antony. I mean, there's just a lot. Like people want to learn patterns for apps that scale, best practices. I mean, all of us want to learn that.
It's a pretty common requirement, isn't it?
Yeah, and I that kind of goes hand in hand with what I said about the courses earlier. Like most of them are pretty basic, and they don't go very deep into the concept. But at the same time, it's pretty hard to make, like, that's one of the hard things with the job, right?
It's true.
Yeah,
and I think
I mean,
it might. Sorry.
go ahead, Anthony.
I was just going to say, I think that landscape is something we see because Svelte's quite new to everyone. And I think maybe at some point we'll get up into the point where we've got a lot of advanced courses and then a few very beginner courses, people just entering the space. I think it's something that's kind of because of Svelte is where it is at the moment.
Yeah.
Like me personally, I don't really, if a like it is a sign of the project's maturity, but like an advanced course is not necessarily a good thing. It might mean that just the framework is too hard to use and you need a lot of teaching to use it right.
True.
It's true. No, that's very true.
Yeah. Oh, did we lose Shawn?
In raw JavaScript, right? There just isn't that much to mess around with.
Yeah. Let's see.
Shawn's gone very still.
Did I get dropped?
No, we got you back.
Yeah, you're back.
It sounds like my Wi-Fi just terrible. Okay, so I was just saying, like, if you can hear me now.
Yep.
I was just saying, like, it's not necessarily a good thing that a framework has like some advanced course, because like that might just mean it's just too hard to use. Like,
yeah.
Like, it's kind of, coming from React, like having a bunch of advanced hooks or something, it just like kind of just shows that the basic hooks are not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true, and I think
the draw of Svelte is that it's so close to HTML and JS that all your prior existing knowledge applies, and that's about it. Like you go do whatever you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the advantage of not being, we're not breaking completely new ground. I think React did that for us, which is good, because it means that we end up taking the best bits from that and then building on top of that.
Yep.
And React, meanwhile, has to kind of add and have all this sort of, like CSS, have 7 different ways to do a layout, for example.
Yeah. Is that enough?
But it is true that people are very interested in Svelte in production. That's another thing I'm seeing in this. As a common trend in this whole thing. So that kind of ties into the other thing that we're doing in the Svelte Society site, which is kind of consolidating all the known all the people who use it in production. We have like, I don't know, a couple hundred, people. It's very light. It's just, people's logos and stuff. We don't really know what they use it for.
Yeah.
But ideally, as part of what Svelte Society does is like it shows like how people have used it in production, and that this is not just a random side project of a few people. Like actually, Antony is building, Bianca on Svelte, and like I'm using this. I'm going through this serverless course right now, run by Stanley. I don't know his full name, but he was one of the founders of A Cloud Guru, like big deals in the cloud space, and their whole video course platform is built on Svelte. Like people are using this, they're just not, it's not Facebook, but actually that's a plus. Like,
that's for true.
Did you guys see the redesign post by Facebook the other day?
Yeah.
I think they went from like 2 megabytes of CSS to that's ridiculous. But
I mean, again, it's one of those fair enough things. They keep adding features, you keep adding noise and stuff on top,
Yeah. We're actually
CSS is hard to scale, so I understand that one.
So I'm actually working part-time at a company called Buddybase, and we're using Svelte to build like a low-code, no-code thing. So that's pretty interesting. Using it for like the actual builder side of the project.
What is it, buddybase.com?
Yep.
I don't see it. Buddybase. Can you type the link in the...
Yeah. Let's see here.
No, I just it's a domain that's being squatted. Maybe I'm just not spelling it right.
Yeah. It's BUDI, so it's not buddy like a friend. So
we can add a link to the
to the
podcast.
For that builder, that's awesome. Nice. Yeah, I'm interested in the low-code space. I don't know how deep I want to go on it, but it's interesting.
Yeah. It seems like one of those problems that is very, very hard to solve.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't
Cool.
fear it.
Any other comments on the Svelte Society Day before we move on?
No, I'm going to close my window. It's freezing in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we should for sure do another one.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. I think we're thinking fall.
Yeah.
Just give people some time, but then also just keep it going. I think we got some really good momentum with that one. Like it went really well. Like the attendance was amazing. People are interested in Svelte. I think a lot. There are probably a lot of the responses that we got. Like something like 20-something% of people were using it at work. Right.
Wow.
I think it was actually 30%. When I looked
30%. Yeah. Obviously, that's a little bit self-selecting. It's people who answer surveys, but
of course.
there are probably a lot of like people who are just curious, and this is the first time they're learning Svelte and all that. Which is why I kind of made my talk a little bit more beginner friendly.
Yeah.
But then also like I think the more life we can show, it's all about like keeping up the momentum, right? So the more life we can show that everyone's working on stuff, and this is really taking off. That will get people involved, and that actually will make it happen. It's kind of like a chicken and egg thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Svelte course.
Yeah, the 7-hour free code camp course. That's that's a long course.
I didn't actually see this. I don't know if you.
No,
all that being said, I think
I've only taken a short look at it, but it seems pretty comprehensive. I think you're building like
it covers Sapper too.
Yeah, it's massive.
So what do you end up with when you've watched 7 hours of this course?
That is a good
you
question.
Just know everything.
Yep.
He builds 4 apps. A very COVID related can washing app, a COVID US tracker app, project estimator app, and a tic-tac-toe app.
Wow.
And then he covers Svelte. He covers Sapper. I think he covers Routify.
Okay.
Covers Store. Yeah, you love Routify. It's like, now he's cool.
I'm dying to use Routify, to be honest. I really am.
You should try it. I actually converted my Svelte school site from Sapper, like an exported Sapper site to Routify.
But the SSR is a bit odd still, right? It doesn't really use the SSR as Svelte. It uses some sort of browser.
Yeah, JS DOM, I think.
JS DOM thing. Interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it could be interesting.
Yeah.
He deploys Sapper onto DigitalOcean and includes. I like this because a lot of tutorials get you to localhost, and then they're like, oh, now you can deploy it, and then they don't tell you how to deploy it.
Yeah.
But he actually shows you how to deploy it to DigitalOcean and get your HTTPS cert.
Nice.
That's very nice.
Like on like other platforms, that's automatic, but on DigitalOcean and stuff like that, you need to get it yourself. And like I never remember. I just follow a tutorial and that's it. So
same.
I just let them do it for me now. I'm very happy with now when Google Cloud doing certificates for me. I know I've done it myself, and I'm like happy with that knowledge. And now I'm just like, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, handling SSL certificates is like the most boring thing you can do.
It is, and it's not so much even just the provisioning; it's the updating of them like every 3 months.
Yeah.
Unless you've built this automated system.
Yeah, which can go down at any time, of course.
Break in 3 months, of course.
Yeah.
and I've literally been there, done that. It's not much fun.
Okay, and then there's this other course. This one's from Firebase. I think both the guys are named Jeff. Basically, like this is the Firebase developer relations team getting in on teaching Svelte.
Hello, everybody.
And I like Firebase. It was one of my first baby's first backend because it just does gives you a good set of stuff out of the box. And you can build a lot with Svelte and Firebase, I think.
Yeah.
Firebase can be quite hard to integrate with Sapper, for example, because it depends quite heavily on your browser. But if you're building it pure front.
Yeah, it's for a single page app. Yeah.
Yeah, then it's perfect for that.
Yeah, that's
basically
kind
like
of.
there's this. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh well, I was gonna say like basically all these like backends as a service were originally meant for mobile, like where there is no server rendering, right? It's all client. And then JavaScript was like, hey, we'll get in on that fat client idea as well, and here we are. So I mean that's a little bit like my job in AWS, which I haven't started yet, but eventually we'll start. It also it also is originally started for mobile, and then they were like, hey, do you know what? Like web developers can use this too, and now there are more web developers than mobile developers on it.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of I'm always in favor of seeing PWAs bring that together, and also I guess PWA is becoming the de facto thing. I'm very against native apps on phone. Now I do myself use a lot of native apps on phone, but I want everything to be a PWA because it just cuts down dev time. It makes things more predictable. It means the browser becomes more powerful. It gets all the sensors and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that Firebase and its ilk are a really good thing and a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Cool. Lots of courses. I mean, Rich even mentioned some stuff that I didn't know about, which was like there's someone writing a book, Mark Falkman, I think.
Yeah.
And that's yeah. I mean that's pretty cool.
I think
there's a real publisher doing books in Svelte.
I think he did a talk at Nordic JS last year. A Svelte talk.
Seen his name around. Yeah. Cool. Snowpack. Who wanted to talk about Snowpack?
I mean I want to talk about it in that I've given it a little trial. So Rixo, he's kind of the king of HMR as far as I'm concerned. He's got HMR hooks into the middle of Svelte, and he's got these starter projects where you can actually get proper HMR hot module reloading in your app, and you can start developing things pretty damn fast. And I think that Snowpack or Nollup or whatever the solution becomes, when you're reloading, I mean, the Snowpack demo he made, it was reloading in about less than 50 milliseconds or something stupid like that.
Wow.
And it just means you can just type and see it on screen instantly, and that for me it's kind of the pinnacle of web dev, because I know my app's fairly hefty and it's a good couple of seconds reload at the moment, and it's a bit annoying because I'm using live reload. Some of the modules I'm using hot module reloading, and it's much easier to develop, and it saves your state, and you have to kind of flick through staged forms and stuff. So I think that anything that brings us closer to that, if we can get it, under 50 mils a second for these kind of apps, then that's a real competitive edge for Svelte. And there's just nothing. A big complaint to Svelte right now is the hot module reloading support is still in sort of development. It is still experimental, effectively.
Yeah.
And I think that would be like the final wall broken down, and well, why aren't you using Svelte, kind of thing.
Well, the people, why people say they aren't using Svelte is because of TypeScript support.
Yeah, well, we've got that on our little list here just below. I mean, I couldn't give a, but I know it's important to a lot of people. So that's an interesting topic to discuss for sure.
Well, they say it's important, right? But watch us implement TypeScript support, and then they're like, but there's other things that now we actually care about. Yeah,
that's iterative development, right? That's how that works. I think. Let's. If anyone's got anything to say on hot module reloading or Snowpack, whatever, we can continue. But I think let's move on to TypeScript.
Yeah, let's do it.
So,
I just want to shout out that so there's a bunch of work in this domain of like less bundling. It's not like completely no bundling, but then when you buy into the ES modules for everything idea, then you can unlock a lot more sort of better developer experience and maybe better user experience. So Vite from the Vue framework is it's getting quite some development from Evan Yu, and then Li Hao from our end of the world is working on a Svelte port of Vite. I don't think he has a name for it yet, but essentially super fast startup time because you're not bundling, right? And so far actually everything in Svelte bundles, right? Like we use Rollup or Webpack. And so the way that we save time is because we don't actually have to rebundle everything. We just transpile some files and then we run it in the browser and hope it works.
Yeah.
And Lee Hao's been working on this, and he's even got preprocessors and WebSockets working or something. I don't know. I haven't tried it out because he hasn't released it, but I think there's quite a lot of development in this field, and it just means that everything gets faster for us.
So awesome. I was not aware of that at all. That's really fascinating stuff. That's brilliant stuff. In fact,
cool.
I can't wait to try that. Really good.
Okay, now your TypeScript rant.
I mean, I don't have a TypeScript rant. I think TypeScript is, I come from Java, right? I come from a land where types exist and they're strictly enforced. And then I started developing Groovy where types are kind of optional. And then I moved to JavaScript where types didn't exist when I started. And I think that I understand types, I believe in types, and I know that TypeScript is very strict on types and has some really powerful typing. Does front end need that, in order for it to be usable? No, I don't think it does. And I think that's generally the feeling of a lot of people, a lot of Svelte maintainers, for example. However, it's not that we're not averse to it. It's just that we either don't, we don't use TypeScript ourselves, or it's not been something that's on our priority list as important. And it's only the community that's driven that. So it's definitely important. It's definitely there. And we're happy to have people who know much more about this stuff contribute and bring that ecosystem to Svelte if it's that important to them. So all good and fun. And I think that it's in a good place right now. There's some decisions to be made on how we support it and how native that is. But I think that it's very usable today, and the linters work and the plugins for various IDEs work and stuff. So yeah, not a rant at all. I think a time and a place. I don't feel it's very important, but obviously people do. And that's great. Then let's have it. Let's have TypeScript as an optional. If you want, you can use it, right?
It's there's this meme of TypeScript people, right? You will know if someone wants TypeScript because they will tell you.
quite verbose about it, aren't they? They're quite
quite vocal, yeah.
Yeah, I wish that people would be. I just wish that people would be more precise about what kind of TypeScript support they want, because obviously there's preprocessors for the script tag. So we're really talking about like having a language server for the templates, right? And that's being worked on. The moment I finish this stupid book, I really want to work on it, because I think language servers are cool, and I think that basically every framework, every language in the world is trending towards having a language server, because it improves the developer experience so much, and that's cool. That's autocomplete, and that's type checking on attributes and stuff like that. So it will happen eventually, and there's a lot of people complaining about it, but not a lot of people working on it. So
exactly, I think if we can turn those people who are very, very verbal about wanting it and complaining about the fact it's not there or whatever, if we can turn those into people who will actually proactively push us forward in the right direction, then fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Svelte internals. Who wanted to talk about this one?
Oh yeah, that was me. So Lee Hao released his third blog post about the internals of Svelte. I don't know if you've read it yet, but it's very.
I've read the first.
Very nice stuff.
Yeah.
So something for people to check out.
Any quick TILs for you?
Sorry?
Any quick TILs? Like today I learned that something happened.
Not really. I've only skimmed it. But it's about actions, and I love actions, so it's definitely for me. Yeah.
The answer to every question on the Discord is you need an action for that.
Yeah. But they are really nice, though.
They are good. They are good.
Yeah. I just need to make a video about it.
There's an action for that. I think we should have like a meme.
That's actually a pretty funny thing.
That'd be a great blog post actually if you work on that. For me, I haven't used actions except I copy and pasted something from the Svelte docs, like drag and drop. Like I needed draggable components, so I just copied and pasted that. But they're basically just life cycles, right? For like kind of basically hooks for Svelte.
Yeah.
They hook into the setup and tear down and update.
For elements, really. Yeah.
They're like behaviors, right? So you can build a bunch of behaviors that are common, and you can just apply your behaviors to anything you want. I think that's the fundamental concept, and that's brilliant, because you can. It's like where you go from extending something in traditional object orientation to actually you're mixing something in there's multiple inheritance, right? An element or component you build can suddenly have these 3 different behaviors added to it, which is brilliant.
Yeah, that's I'm actually using actions heavily in the Svelte forms library, trying to make it so that it so you can actually just use the actions that you want if you want to customize some form that you need.
That's cool.
Rather than using a full component, pretty much.
I use it for validation a lot, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's really useful.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, anyway, the idea for this compile Svelte in your head, it was actually that was the first talk that I think I gave at Svelte Society New York. It was just let's look at this template and let's actually see what it's doing under the hood. Then the black box of the Svelte compiler goes away, because we understand what it generates, but we don't have to write what it generates. Svelte just saves us the manual work of writing that, right? And we just have a nice syntax to write stuff. Yeah. So that's the whole idea behind this thing. And he actually took it and ran with it. So good for him.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think the problem for me, if I look at if you go to the REPL and you just check the JS output, it's that it's mixed in with these internal methods, and it gets a bit confusing the first time you see it. But
they're a bit opaque, right?
Yeah, but actually when you just follow the methods and see how they're implemented, it's quite easy to actually understand it.
They're usually one-liners, It's
yeah.
It's a weird thing to have a full transpile mode where you actually you take out the internal methods and just put in their implementation in there.
Yeah.
So people can just see it's raw JS, raw vanilla JavaScript. Yeah.
I think it's a weird thing because I think one of the early complaints of Svelte, because I've been using Svelte since version 1, right? It's been a long time, and one of the early complaints was because there's no runtime, common functions get duplicated, and therefore you've got this the application grows in size exponentially. And I think that the import from common is actually the solution to that. You're now sharing more functionality. It makes it a bit more opaque, but obviously it's a better solution. But the funny thing is that the people who are complaining about it having no commonality to the runtime are now complaining that it's got a runtime, and it's like, well, what do you want? What's the answer?
You can't satisfy everyone.
No, you really can't.
Especially in open source, right?
No, definitely not in open source. Free things are ultimately more expensive, right?
All right, cool. Next one.
Yeah.
This one is a complaint. So site docs and monorepo. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of monorepos. I understand they make some things easier, but I think basically just GitHub's not very good for monorepos.
It isn't right now, no, and npm is not very good at it either, right? I think that the reason that they coexist, I know the reason they coexist is because it helps the docs fit the version of the code that the docs relate to. So because they live side by side, it means that there's no kind of complex versioning strategy between the two. There's probably other approaches to it, but I don't know of any that work particularly well. So yeah, that's the reason. I mean, you can do GitHub remotes, but that's a whole bag of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh.
Did we lose him again?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Hey, welcome back.
So you guys had your video on this whole time, and I was just staring at it. Sorry. My Wi-Fi needed a kicking, so I went and kicked it.
All right.
Cool. Did you, where are we at?
I think we were just about to finish talking about the site docs in the monorepo.
Yeah.
Did we mention that it was the docs we were talking about? Did we just start talking about monorepos? Okay.
Oh, right. It was just the docs. Yeah. That we wanted to pair the versions and stuff. Which that's a valid reason. It's just it causes a lot of noise because if you wanted to look at code, it's hard to figure out the code, especially when the filtering stuff in the PR section of GitHub doesn't really filter, docs versus whatever. I guess we could tag it, but nobody tags anything.
Yeah, well, I think that the tagging again works really well, but you end up tagging two different projects, and so it's a bit harder to get it across that way. And also, you don't necessarily have to tag every time you update the docs, right? It can be done on master and then rolled into a single tag. So, yeah, it's a problem looking for a solution, I guess, still.
All right, let's talk about the this transition thing.
Yeah. So the story behind this is Adam Reckis pops up on Twitter saying he just loves the animation Svelte and it's unbelievable, and React's kind of put to shame by it. And then obviously Dan Abramov gets sort of, hang on a minute, this can't happen, this can't be said. And he replies saying, yeah, but look, I found some bugs, and he starts, demonstrating bugs that we know are there. There is issues in there was issues in Svelte's transitions, and then this guy called Pushkin, who's, I assume that's how you pronounce his name, had been appearing on Discord quite a lot, just out of nowhere, just goes bang, fixed it, and he's just fixed he's fixed probably one of the most long-standing bugs in Svelte that I know of.
That's insane.
And it fixes a load of other bugs, and it closed about 10 issues, and the animation demo that he provided is just insane. Like, it's super fast, super slick, just by fixing some sort of internal compilation thing. It's just incredible. So yeah, I mean, quite an interesting morning when I woke up and read that on Twitter.
Yeah,
it's just like you need that push from people, and you need Danny Abramov doing your QA.
Yeah, right. That's it. This is why competition's good, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I didn't really get the bug. I think it was just like clicking on things while they're transitioning. Is that it?
It's a variety of things around, I believe, when a component gets invalidated and maybe disappears from the page, but the transitions are still scheduled to run because the view is changing. And the transitions would run, but obviously the new stuff would start coming into the page. And it caused things such as pages piling up on top of each other in Sapper. It would often in Sapper, in fact, if you click fast enough, it would break the routing because the routing hooks into the URLs being clicked. And if those clicks aren't registered, their history gets out of step, and you end up with you've got to hard refresh the site. And what we've learned from customers at Beyond actually is that people don't know about hard refreshing like us developers do. It doesn't occur to them. So they'll sit there with a broken site forever. They'll just be like, well, the site doesn't work.
Oh, wow.
And so this bug became, at least for me, like super critical, so important. And then it was just really hard to fix, and no one knew how. And then one morning, bang, there we go.
Yeah. Is it a big PR?
I don't know. I haven't actually looked at the PR. I was more sort of obsessed with the results. But I don't think it's particularly big. It's kind of like ordering events, maybe a conditional or something. I don't know. It's one of those things that's going to be
like one of those one-liners.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I think I've actually come across that in like page transitions in Sapper. So now that makes sense to me.
Yeah, same.
Crazy.
That's really cool. All right, next.
So the next one is about A11Y, or accessibility. One of those weird words they abbreviate with numbers for some reason.
Yeah, that always confused me.
Yeah, I can say Ali.
Ali, yeah. It does say Ali, basically, yeah.
It's meant to be short. It's like it's ally, right? Like being an ally of like people who are less able than whatever. Anyway, I didn't know. Sorry.
I thought the 11 stood for 11 characters omitted.
It did.
Like
it does.
Accessibility.
It does, but it also can be viewed as ally. It's like a nice trick. Anyway, I didn't know this existed. Then we found it in the PRs, and then we found it in the docs, and we were like, oh, this is actually documented, and we just didn't read the docs. So you can Svelte checks for accessibility by default. Sometimes that's annoying. For example, if you know you don't need it for some reason, then you can write a comment and say Svelte ignore, and that ignores stuff. So that led me to find out that the accessibility warnings for Svelte are not complete. Issue 820 links to the remaining accessibility checks that haven't been implemented yet. So these are actually really good first issues. So about half of the issues that we want to tackle are not yet implemented. So we can just go do them at some point.
And it's important because I think a great strength of Svelte again is accessibility, because it has been written accessibility first. It's something that's very important to Rich, I think, and so it's been written in that way. And I think that to get these closed would be a really important step. So
So like talking. This ties a little bit to like we've had conversations about how Babel transpiles inside of templates before. Like how much so these things, like these are checks, and I assume they just get run every time we transpile a Svelte file. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's part of the compilation process, right? I think it's part of the compilation process. It's just running a bunch of checks to make sure things are valid. It will obviously add to compile time, but then that's what a compiler's job is, right? It's something you run in development time, and it's something that hopefully doesn't take too long, and then the final product benefits from it without any impact.
I actually wonder if there's like a two-phase compile where like one is just like we're just in dev whatever, and then a production compile, and that has different checks.
I think that would be. Sorry, Karen. Sure.
Yeah. No, I wonder if that's reasonable, or maybe that's what we already do. I don't know.
Well, I think that's something that would be almost. It would be tied in with the way like Snowpack works and the way that Nolop works, right? So the way that Nolop works is that it doesn't do all the tree shaking that Rollup does, because Rollup is a very powerful tool that can make your code base really small, but that comes at a cost, and I think Nolop just takes that bit away for development time. So you're building with two different frameworks. I think the same thing then applies to the way Snowpack works. It's not bundling, it's not tree shaking in dev, and in production you are. So I think these checks could also tie in with that. If Svelte's compiler was, like you said, it was designed in a way that you could say, in dev we don't really care about these things. The only one possible side effect of that, I guess, is that you don't end up benefiting from these things until you're actually building for production, which is a little bit too late. It almost comes under the guise of a test suite. Maybe there's a way that this can be run like linting, perhaps. So I don't know. You tie in with your build process or whatever. Your GitHub pre hooks. I can't even pronounce it. That's how complex it is.
Yeah, Git hooks. Yeah.
Git hooks. Yeah, the ones before you commit.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I think so like before this recording, I think we went through PRs and issues and stuff like that. And I think the last one that we had was when your component name is anchor, it will break the app. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Just naming things.
Naming things is hard, they say.
It is.
Well, I think it also like kind of. I did not know how we parsed things in Svelte, and like it's a little creaky, right? Like it's a little like we'll parse these things as far as we go, and then we'll hand it over to Acorn or whatever, and that causes things like this where you're using regex, or you're using some sort of like partial string thing. Like you're not really using an AST. You're using kind of like a weird, I don't know, like just like partial consumption of like you as a compiler you partially consume strings, and when you have like rules like this and you didn't really think about it, it breaks the app. So
yeah, absolutely. It's a multi-layered process, I think.
Isn't there also like I think this has happened before, right? Or well, I mean, if this has been in the source code, this has also happened before probably, but like, there's another tag also that someone used that broke things. I think. I don't remember.
It seems like it rings a bell, but I'm not entirely sure.
Whatever. I'm sure we'll fix it. It's just funny to when it happens.
Yeah.
And like I know that I've been there, and I will think that I'm wrong, but then actually Svelte is wrong, and then it just takes like 2 hours to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are for sure the worst issues, bugs. for me at least.
Yeah. Last one, wait and catch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't you like this, Anthony?
I guess my view for a templating language, for a view framework, for a framework that deals with the view, is that it is logicless. That's the kind of the goal, the pinnacle of how it should be. And over time, we've moved more and more closely towards logicless templates. React then took that and said, screw that, I'm putting logic directly in template, and I'm now encouraging people to use it. And that's one of the aversions I have to React, is that I don't find a lot of React projects I come across readable, because people have bundled all the logic and outputting of bits of DOM elements, just shoved it all together. And you really can't visualize in your head when you're reading that code what this HTML structure is going to look like. And obviously, one of the reasons I like Svelte is because it doesn't have that. It has a very light, kind of almost handlebars-y logic thing on the templates. And I feel that await is a step too far in the wrong direction. We're bringing actual logic back into the templates. We're allowing you to await promises and then deal with the result. And this kind of await catch thing has come from then having to catch errors in that scenario. And it's moving the code back into the template. And that's why I don't agree with it. And I always await for things in my script block. And then I deal with the results. Merely, this is the result you've got, and that's what you can do with it. And any error handling is dealt with before that. So I don't like await catch, because I feel that it doesn't belong in the templates. Kev is so bored of my rant that he's taken his headphones off.
No, I mean, like you had that the moment you had ifs in the in the templates.
Yeah, it's hard to get away with not having ifs, right? That's what I mean by logic free is a goal, but it's not. No one's reached it yet.
Like await is basically if like asynchronous if then else, and
yeah. Well, okay, I guess my view on this is you can't move an if statement really.
But I'm not sure what we're going to do with that. But okay, anyway, so yeah, like I felt weird in my data fetching talk. I introduced await, and then I was like, actually, I'll use await. You put everything in stores. I think it's just a nice shorthand, and that's a lot of like it's sugar, right? It's you can take as much sugar as you want, and if it helps, and if it doesn't help, then don't use it. So I mean, I understand that await isn't like the best way to handle things for some situations, but it can be nice to drop in. But given that await exists, we might as well throw in catch in there, right?
Sure. It's necessary. People are going to use it. And I agree with flexibility and sugar is good to a limit. The problem for me is that obviously
where do you stop? Yeah.
In React, you don't have to use those things in the template. You don't have to iterate things like with shorthand iteration in the template. But people do, which you can, and then they will, and then it means that all.
Yeah, you can just not use it. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the higher level things I think about when I think about things like this is like how do we approach language design, and there's this debate about how JavaScript. We're just talking about like how we approach language design, and I was just saying like people actually view JavaScript as like this, it had a rough patch, but then now we have like this very formalized process with TC39, and every year there's like new features in JavaScript. But there's actually people within JavaScript who don't like. Sorry, there's actually people within TC39 who don't like the current process TC39. Like for them, because like we release a new feature every year, we don't really have a holistic design perspective to the whole language. We just like add features based on individual pitches, and like if everyone likes the pitch, then we go implement them. It doesn't really like have a consistency throughout the language sometimes. So that's why it's like some people within TC39 are advocating for like do what ES6 did. ES6 was like we'll chunk up the ideas of the last 10 years, and we just like put them all together at once. Make sure the design is coherent. Think through the interaction use cases of between new features, stuff like that, and just be a lot more intentional and careful about it, because once it's in, you can't really take it out.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely breaking.
Yeah. So that's something like Svelte is a language, right? And if we're gonna do language design by PR, in that might be fine and democratic, but then like maybe we need some overall like vision and some way of like versioning things and making sure that they all work together.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense.
Of course, having said that, I'm not going to do it, but hopefully hopefully we'll figure it out. Like I one of my issues with Svelte is also like governance. Like I don't really know how it's run. Like conduitry kind of just runs everything.
Yeah.
But at some point, like Ritual again, like he's still dealing with personal stuff, I reckon. But it sounds like he's getting ready to come back. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's definitely gearing up. He's doing talks and he's doing some sort of behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, don't think it'll be long now.
Well, also he's doing a workshop in June, so that forces him to like teach Svelte.
Yeah, it's true.
That's really like something when you try to teach people, you kind of notice like the weird quirks.
Yeah,
that you don't like. Nice way to get into the language.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up? Cool. Well, this was the first recording. I think we got through like a full hour. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite easily.
Took longer than I thought it would, actually. Like just looking at like the topics, I thought it would be a quick thing, like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like multiply by 3 people commenting on things. Like I think you get there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
So I think we'll call it for this recording, but we'll try to make this a regular thing. I think this is fun.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. All right.